calcite lake now, because of the flood, has actually taken over this entire chamber. So we'll go down the LA freeway. Mark is going to dive off here and get some samples for Hazel while we continue down the groove until we get to Calcite Lake down here, which is now City Hall.
There are a couple of bottles in here, right?
Yes, there's a couple bottles in there. Okay. They've got a handful of bottles each. I've got a couple sample vials of my own I need to fill from UV. Right, so
We have that one.
because we'll pick up JF75 and we'll pick up
Whatever you leave today.
yeah, because we'll pack lighter.
Yeah.
There's such limited stuff we can do down there. I'm only going to take one set of meters, just the DO, because we can't measure that when we get up. So the Wind Cave UNI collaboration began in 2018 with the idea to develop a course that was specifically geared towards showing students what it would be like to be a field astrochemist or astrobiologist. And so we came and we said, here's all of our instruments, here's what they do. What would you like to learn about your cave? And the park rangers were thrilled, so we spent an entire week just playing around in the upper caverns with our instruments, learning everything we could. While there, what turned out is so little work had ever been done in the public domain because of thoughts of contamination that we were making multiple different discoveries that were worth following up with investigations. And we've got the main lake itself, and we kind of take a sample from each one of these.
So one of the great things that attracted me to this Wind Cave project is that it's a basic science question. So unlike an applied science question, where you might have a known direct human interest that you're going after, here we don't really know the phenomenon of this cave system and how it works.
Us really as scientists and like the general population don't really know how the world really works. We like to think we do, but we really don't until we truly take a closer look at how things work, like how the mechanism works. It's not until we take a deeper look at stuff, even if it's just for like exploratory reasons, discovering like research just for research's sake, it's always beneficial to learn more about what it is that is around us.
Basic research, or science for science sake, sometimes gets a bad name with the public because it's like, well, what is your science actually doing? They want to see the other type of science. They want to know that you're researching the cure for a disease. They want to know that what you're doing is going to impact their life in their lifetime. But basic research is what seeds applied science.
So in basic research, you are just going into something not really knowing what you're going to find, which can eventually lead into applied research, and going into that and going into more detail into what you know you're going to find.
A lot of the basic research that's going on right now, we have known the unknown, but how well have we done the basic research? You can get the evidence through applied research. But it's kind of like the foundation of science, the basic research. I don't think that we can be successful doing a lot of applied research, without getting the basic research going at the same time.
In the Wind Cave story, we're doing a lot of science for science sake. We're trying to understand the cave. How does it best model a moon of Saturn or Jupiter? How is it that it helps us understand space life? That sounds very science for science sake, and it is. But the life that we're finding here has a completely different nature from a lot of life up on the surface of the planet.
For instance, the previous research that found microbes in the bottom of this cave found a lot of interesting things about microbial resistance, antibiotics and resistance to antibiotics that could be applicable. Even though it wasn't the original goal, if we didn't fund the basic research to make that discovery, we wouldn't have found those interesting bits that could apply.
So while it's not necessarily a direct route from what the Wind Cave story is to what's going to help you at the doctor's office, it's a series of science for science sake stories that eventually come to that final discovery of, aha, this is what is important for helping the general public.
I think governmental funding of science is the best use case for public spending that there is. I think it's the avenue by which the most good is produced and the most benefit per dollar is put into the world. It's what solves child mortality problems, it's what solves every epidemic throughout history. It's what is going to take us from where we are now to the world of abundance we see in stuff like Star Trek.
So a lot of what we're doing right now is trying to understand the current conditions of the water basins in the cave. So a lot of that comes down to measuring the temperature, the pH, the salt content, the conductivity, total dissolved ions, dissolved oxygen. So we're measuring a lot of the different water characteristics. And then we're going to take some back with us to measure the organic component, see how many of the different large organic molecules have made their way from the surface prairie down into the basin's water here.
It's not just to get some data for NASA, right? It's the training of us, the faculty and the students, okay? And this is a lifetime experience, and this is gonna help them to build their career. It's helping us, the faculty, to know what's next, what we should be doing next.
I have come to the same location 3 years in a row at Wind Cave, and I see a different story every time I look at it. So it's not even that we're doing the same science every time we're coming, it's we have a slightly different way of looking at the science each time we look at something.
Seeing how much effort CBRE put into this, and for all, especially all the other professors involved in recruiting the students for it, I think is really amazing. Like, I think I'd really like to be able to one day write my own grant and be able to have a cool team like that and have an enjoyable experience over science. I think that's the most important part, and the most important thing that I learned is that you want to be able to do what you love. Research is so important, and it drives the majority of the knowledge and what we need to run everything. We can't confirm anything without doing research.
I think that having a good public understanding of what science is really important. By making science and research more accessible to people that might not have a strong background in the sciences is really important in facilitating that relationship and allowing people who otherwise might not understand what's going on in their own communities be able to grasp concepts that are really complex, and in that way it makes them feel more comfortable with the research that's going on.
Characterizing scientists as all trying to disseminate their knowledge more, I think kind of hides this dichotomy between the extroverts and introverts. Science as a field, especially bench science, selects introverts because you work long hours by yourself at a lab bench. Folks who like to disseminate knowledge typically wouldn't like that job. And so we are kind of dependent on both types in science. We need an organization like NASA to disseminate, and we need dedicated individuals who want nothing else but to devote their entire lives to doing basic research.
Me coming in as a freshman into college, didn't really understand much. Now as a senior, I probably understand a decent amount, probably 85 to 90% of what I'm told or read or all this stuff, but there's still knowledge that I can get, but also I need to educate those around me, so then when I'm talking about, oh, the research I'm doing, it's this, this, and this, then they understand it better.
One of the topics that came up, well, in the grant that we wrote, as well as in conversations, is the need for the public to understand science. Telling a media story or using media to tell a story becomes a way to communicate to the public what is happening, how interesting it is, what do scientists actually do. I think seeing science at work becomes an interesting thing for the public, and media can be a powerful way to communicate that, I think.
So by being able to find ways of not necessarily using the scientific terms, but using the public engagement terms is one of the big things that's a push right now. So coming up with ways to talk about the science without the jargon, to be able to engage in a better, more general public is always an important aspect of things.
And so NASA generously has funded this to understand more about the life on this planet that is in atypical places on the planet. And so doing basic research at a place like Wind Cave helps inform us when we make big policy decisions, when we make decisions about the human condition, decisions that can cost a lot of money and affect our lives.